Welcome back to our virtual class. Once again, this is Miss Anna. Let's review our learning goals and our previous discussion about phrase and clause. Again, at the end of the lesson, we will be able to distinguish between phrases and clauses, place phrases and clauses appropriately within sentences, and punctuate simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. Remember that a sentence structure starts with a phrase, which is a group of words that expresses an idea but is not a complete sentence. Let's look at examples of phrases. In the upstairs computer lab, we have a group of words. It expresses an idea, but it is definitely not a complete sentence. Now, let's take a look at clauses. A clause is a group of words that expresses an idea but has a subject or the noun and the predicate, which includes the verb. Let's look at examples of clauses. Now, in this case, the subject must complete the action. I ran home. That is a complete sentence. It expresses an idea, so that is a clause. How about the example, because we already ate? Here, I have my subject, and I have a verb, but my subject completes the action, therefore, this too is a clause. Let's define independent clauses. An independent clause is the main clause in a sentence. It is also a sentence by itself, thus independent. If you're independent, you don't need anyone. Let's look at the example of independent clause. She returned home. Complete sentence, complete thought, and can stand on its own. A dependent clause is a clause that is connected to the main clause or that independent clause in a sentence. It does not form a sentence by itself. Dependent clause needs some help to complete an idea or thought. For examples, because the weather was good, when the sun is shining. Recall that if you fit phrases and clauses correctly in a sentence, they're like bricks in a wall. They strengthen your writing and they convey your ideas and make sentences a lot more interesting. Now it's time to look at different types of sentences. But why do we need to learn these types of sentences according to structure or form? It is because strong writers use a variety of sentence lengths and types to effectively communicate ideas. This presentation will introduce you to 4 common sentence structures. Mastering these sentence types will greatly improve your writing. These sentences are utilized in all content areas. So what are the types of sentence according to structure? These are simple, compound, complex, and compound complex sentences. All 4 of these types contain a complete sentence known as independent clause. A simple sentence contains only one independent clause or one complete sentence with a subject and predicate. It can stand on its own. Let's take a look at the simple sentence. In the beginning of the sentence, always capitalize first letter in a sentence. All sentences need punctuation marks like period, question mark, or exclamation point at the end. Again, a simple has one independent clause. An independent clause, known as a complete sentence, contains a subject and predicate. This sentence is referred to as simple because it communicates simple ideas through a simple structure. For example, the iPod battery lasts for days. Here, the subject is the iPod battery and the predicate is last for days. It has a complete thought and can stand alone as an independent clause or as a complete sentence. For more examples, they like seeing each other. The oak leaves turned color in the fall. He went home after school. Again, these sentences can stand alone. Each has a complete idea, an independent clause that can stand alone. Let's move to compound sentences. A compound sentence has two independent clauses. The independent clauses or complete sentences can be combined in three ways. First is through coordinating conjunctions. For example, the USC tour thrilled my cousin, so she recommended that I see the campus. Here, the first independent clause is the USC tour thrilled my cousin, separated by comma, joined by the coordinating conjunction so, followed by another independent clause. A conjunction is a part of speech that is used to connect clauses or sentences or to coordinate words in the same clause. An easy way to remember all the coordinating conjunctions is to think of fanboys. The first letter in each coordinating conjunction spells fanboys, which are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. The second way is through a conjunctive adverb. For example, the USC tour thrilled my cousin, therefore, she recommended that I see the campus. Notice the punctuation used in the sentence to connect the first independent clause to the other independent clause, which are semicolon and a comma, and in between the punctuation marks is the conjunctive adverb therefore. The most commonly used conjunctive adverbs are however, surprisingly, therefore, luckily, confidently, and unfortunately. The last way is through the use of a semicolon. In order to create a compound sentence with only a semicolon, the ideas in each sentence must be directly related. No coordination or matching is required because the ideas are clearly connected. Like in the example, the USC tour thrilled my cousin. She highly recommended it. So remember, good writing has style. One way to add style is to vary your sentences. Sometimes we need to express our complex thoughts through sophisticated language. Let's talk about complex sentences. In a complex sentence, it has one independent clause and one dependent clause or incomplete sentence called an adverbial clause. When we say adverbial clauses, they describe a verb in the independent clause and answers questions like where, why, how, when, and to what degree. Like in the example, Mark went to the bank because he needed money. Here, it answers the question, why did he go to the bank? So the answer is, because he needed money. Another example, Stacy enjoys jogging before she goes to work. It answers the question, when does she jog? And the answer is before she goes to work. These adverbial clauses are created using subordinating conjunctions. Again, conjunctions are used to connect clauses or sentences or to coordinate words in the same clause. Here are some sample subordinating conjunctions. after, although, because, before, even if, in order to, no matter how, since, unless, when, whenever. Adverbial clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions. Adverbial clauses can be used at the beginning of a sentence, as in this example. If Felix wins tomorrow, he will donate his winnings. So here, the question is, what will Felix do if he wins? Again, the adverbial clause begins with a subordinating conjunction. In this example, the subordinating conjunction is if, and it follows the adverbial clause, then a comma, then the independent clause. Lastly, we have the compound complex sentences. Here, it has one or more coordinated independent clauses and one dependent clause. These types of sentences combine what you have learned about compound and complex sentences and put them together. That is, combine independent clauses with coordinating conjunctions such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, or conjunctive adverbs like although, however, therefore. Then, use subordinating conjunctions to create adverbial clauses in the form of either the independent clause to start the sentence, then followed by a dependent clause, or vice versa. Dependent clause to start the sentence, then comma, then independent clause. Can you identify the one dependent clause and two independent clauses in this sentence? What makes this a compound complex sentence? Because you will be expected to write well in college, you will want to learn these 4 sentence types, and you will want to use them to communicate your ideas effectively. Here, the one dependent clause is because you will be expected to write well in college. It's the adverbial clause joined by a subordinating conjunction. And the 2 independent clauses are, you will want to learn these 4 types, and you will want to use them to communicate your ideas effectively. These independent clauses are joined by coordinating conjunction and. This is an example of compound complex sentence since it has 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause. So that's all for the types of sentences according to structure. It's time for you to apply what you have learned, so leap forward with good sentences.